Here is something I must tell you, something that stirs in my spirit and burns in my bones. Rejection can feel like death. The closing of doors, the silence after the no, the turning away of eyes that once looked with promise. And oh, how it hurts to be told you're not good enough, not smart enough, not rich enough, not enough. But I came here today to tell you rejection is not the end of the story. Your voice rises gently, filled with conviction. You see, the world may say no, but God still whispers yes. You may be pushed aside by people, but you have not been forgotten by your Creator. There once was a soul. Oh, he had a dream, a fire in his chest. And every time he reached out his hand, the world slapped it away. No, 100 times, but he did not stop. He did not curse the ground beneath his feet. He did not drown in despair. He believed. He believed when no one else would. He believed when his bank was empty, when his heart was shattered, when his friends walked away. He still believed. Rejection is not the end. It's redirection. When we hear the word no, something inside us shrinks. It's almost instinctive. The door shuts and we assume the journey is over. We think that moment defines us. But what we often fail to see in that painful instant is that rejection is not a wall. It's a turning point. It's not a sentence to failure, but a nudge from the unseen hand of destiny saying, not here, not yet. There's something better. In the silence that follows rejection, most people walk away. They feel unloved, unseen, unworthy. But rejection, when seen through the lens of purpose, becomes something entirely different. It becomes a compass. It becomes direction. Not away from value, but toward growth, toward alignment, toward something you didn't even know you were meant for. Too often we ask, why me? Why did they say no? Why wasn't I chosen? But the better question is, what am I being prepared for? Because every no has a lesson hiding inside it. Every closed door makes room for a new one to open. One that may take you where you never imagined going, but exactly where you were always meant to be. Think about it. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs in history came from people who faced countless rejections. Not because they were failures, but because their path was not supposed to be like everyone else's. Their road was carved through the wilderness, not paved by applause. They didn't just get turned away. They were being turned around, set on a different course. Rejection forced them to dig deeper, work harder, believe stronger. And in doing so, they built something no one could deny. Rejection teaches you to stop begging for seats at tables where you don't belong. It teaches you to build your own table, one that reflects your worth. It teaches you that approval is temporary, but purpose is eternal. When people say no, it often means they can't see what's inside you. But that doesn't change what's already there. A buried diamond doesn't lose its value just because no one's found it yet. You see, rejection also removes false options. It clears out the noise. It breaks the illusion that you need everyone to like you, to choose you, to validate you. And that's where the real power begins. Because once you stop needing the world to say yes, you become unstoppable. You start listening to something higher, something deeper. The voice inside you that still believes, still dreams, still burns. In that space, rejection becomes your teacher. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to stand when everything inside you wants to sit down. The pain of not being chosen becomes the fire that refines you. And when you come out the other side, you're not better. You're sharper, wiser, more ready than ever. And while the world may look at you and only see how many times you were told no, what really matters is that you kept going. You didn't stop. You understood something others didn't, that rejection was never rejection. It was protection. It was preparation. It was positioning. Sometimes the place you were so desperate to be accepted into was too small for the dream inside you. Sometimes their no was God's go. A sign to move forward, to shift lanes, to chase the higher road. And it's only when you look back, after all the detours, that you finally realize every no was actually leading you somewhere greater. The world may say no, but heaven whispers yes. There are moments in life when every voice around you seems to speak doubt. They look at your dream and shake their heads. They listen to your ideas and turn their backs. Doors close before you even reach them. Opportunities slip away. People you trusted walk out without warning. And slowly, their rejection starts to sound like the truth. It echoes in your head until you begin to question everything. Your path, your worth, your calling. But there is a whisper that does not come from this world. It's not loud. It doesn't fight for attention. It waits in the quiet. It speaks when you're alone. It comes not from applause, not from people, but from heaven itself. That whisper says, keep going. I chose you. I believe in you. You're not done. When everything external says no, this voice still says yes. You see, the world is limited in what it can see. It judges by what's in front of it. It measures by wealth, appearance, background, and reputation. If you don't fit the mold, if you don't shine according to their standards, they label you as unqualified. They forget that the greatest things ever created started in obscurity. They forget that seeds are buried before they bloom. But heaven sees what man cannot. It sees your heart. It sees the potential that hasn't manifested yet. It sees the strength forged in silence, the tears cried in secret, the quiet sacrifices no one claps for. The world sees only results, but heaven sees your faith. And that's why its yes is not based on your perfection. It's based on your purpose. You could be rejected by every employer, overlooked by every critic, unfollowed by every trend, and still be in the center of divine favor. Because heaven does not choose based on popularity. It chooses based on destiny. That means you can fail in front of people and still be winning in the spirit. You can lose today and still be on your way to something eternal. The world's no often comes from fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of difference, fear of change. But heaven's yes comes from love. It calls things that are not as though they are. It sees a shepherd and calls him a king. It sees a prisoner and calls him a leader. It sees a poor girl and calls her favored. When the world says, "You're too small," heaven says, "You're chosen." So many people spend their whole lives chasing the world's approval, trying to earn the yes, trying to dress the part, sound the part, fit into spaces that were never built for their purpose. But chasing the world's yes will wear you down. It's inconsistent, conditional, and often tied to things you can't control. One day they cheer, the next day they forget. But heaven's whisper doesn't change. It speaks when you're tired. It calls you when you feel unqualified. It stands by you when others walk away. And sometimes it is that quiet, unshakable whisper that becomes the anchor for your soul. Because deep down, beyond the noise, beyond the rejection, there is a knowing, a certainty that you were made for more. Even when you're standing in front of a closed door, even when the room is silent after you speak, even when the letter says, "We regret to inform you," that whisper still remains. It doesn't vanish with the crowd. It doesn't waver with rejection. It stands steady, reminding you that what's spoken over your life isn't dictated by the world. It's authored by something higher, something eternal. Faith must live where applause is absent. There's a space where the lights are off, the crowd is gone, and the air is filled with nothing but uncertainty. It's in that quiet place, where no one is watching, no one is cheering, no one is validating, that real faith is tested. Because faith is not built in celebration. It's not proven on stage. It is refined in the shadows, in the silence, in the seasons when you have nothing to hold on to but a promise that hasn't come true yet. Anyone can feel strong when praise surrounds them. Anyone can smile when the world claps and affirms every step they take. But what happens when the applause stops? What happens when you're putting in the work and no one notices? When you give your best and it's still ignored? That's where the true nature of faith begins to rise. Or fall. Because it's easy to move when others believe in you. But what about when they don't? Faith is that quiet decision to keep walking even when the road looks like failure. It's that inner fire that refuses to die, even when cold winds of rejection blow hard against your soul. It's what keeps your hands building when everyone else walks away. When the world stops clapping, faith keeps going. It holds the vision like a seed in the dark earth, trusting it will break through. Someday, somehow. Even if no one else sees it coming. There's something powerful about a person who keeps believing without attention. A person who doesn't need a spotlight to move forward. A person who shows up with consistency, with integrity, when no one is looking. That is faith in its purest form. It is not loud but is unshakable. It is not boastful but is relentless. It holds its ground not because of what it sees, but because of what it knows deep within. Many people wait to act till they receive approval. They wait to feel ready, to be invited, to be noticed. But faith doesn't wait. It initiates. It moves before the crowd gathers. It starts before the celebration begins. Because faith doesn't depend on reaction. It depends on revelation. It knows that truth doesn't become true when others agree with it. Truth stands even when it stands alone. There are dreams buried in people simply because they waited for applause that never came. They sat in fear thinking, "No one's supporting me. Maybe it's not meant to be." But faith doesn't operate in the realm of maybe. Faith says, even if they don't clap, I will create. Even if they don't see, I will serve. Even if they don't believe, I will build. Because faith is not fed by external praise. It is fueled by internal conviction. The danger of relying on applause is that it creates dependence. It conditions you to only feel valuable when you're visible. But faith teaches you that your value is not tied to visibility. It's tied to your calling. And sometimes your calling will lead you through lonely places, through deserts, through nights of doubt. through rejection letters, failed attempts, empty rooms. But faith walks with you there, not to destroy you, but to prepare you. In those moments when no one is clapping, something sacred is happening. You are learning to stand on your own feet. You are learning to trust the whisper inside you more than the noise around you. You are learning to move by purpose instead of popularity. And in that space, your faith becomes unbreakable. Not because you never fell, but because you kept getting up without needing to be seen. Your value isn't defined by human approval. There is a deep and quiet danger in living for the opinions of others. It starts subtly, a need to be seen, to be liked, to be accepted. It feels innocent at first, even motivating. But slowly, almost without realizing it, your self-worth begins to depend on what people say, how they respond, whether they notice. You begin to measure your value by their applause, their attention, their acceptance. And when those things fade, as they always do, you're left feeling empty, uncertain, and unseen. But real value cannot be given by people, and therefore it cannot be taken away by them either. It is something you carry within you, something placed in you long before anyone had an opinion about you. Human approval is fickle. It rises and falls with moods, seasons, and trends. One day they love you, the next they forget you. But your worth doesn't rise and fall with their emotions. It is constant. It is rooted in something eternal. When you chase approval, you become a performer, not a person. You shape your words to fit what others want to hear. You hide your truth to avoid their disapproval. You trade authenticity for applause. But no matter how much validation you receive, it never feels like enough. Because the moment you depend on others to define your worth, you become a prisoner to their opinions. And you were never meant to live that way. Your value doesn't lie in titles, trophies, or the number of followers. It's not in your income, your resume, or your popularity. It's in your soul, in your heart, in your quiet strength, in the battles you fought that no one knows about, in the kindness you give when no one is watching, in the dreams you carry that the world may not understand yet. You are valuable because you exist, because you breathe, because there's no one else like you. There will always be people who misunderstand you, who overlook you, who judge you through their limited lens, but their failure to see your value does not reduce it. A diamond in the mud is still a diamond. It might be hidden, it might be dirty, but it hasn't lost its worth. In the same way, your current season or situation doesn't define your identity. The world might try to label you by your past, your mistakes, or your limitations, but those labels are lies when they don't align with your purpose. The truth is, some of the most extraordinary people in history were rejected, mocked, and underestimated by the very world they were born to impact. Their greatness wasn't obvious at first. It wasn't loud, but it was real. And it wasn't the world's approval that gave them strength. It was the unwavering knowing inside them that they were called, chosen, and worthy despite what others thought. The moment you stop needing approval, you become free. Free to take risks, free to be honest, free to fail and try again. Free to create without fear of judgment. That freedom brings peace. It brings clarity. It brings power. You start living from the inside out, not the outside in. You no longer wait to be celebrated. You walk in confidence even in silence. Some people may never understand your journey. They may never applaud your efforts or recognize your potential. But that doesn't make you less. It just means their vision is limited. Your worth was never in their hands to begin with. You don't need their permission to be valuable. You already are. The 100 no's prepare you for your one divine yes. Rejection can feel like failure. Each no can land like a blow to the heart, a reminder of how far you are from where you want to be. And when you hear that word over and over again, it starts to take a toll. It chips away at your confidence, clouds your vision, and whispers lies that maybe you're not enough, not capable, not called. But what if those no's are not the end of your story, but the training ground for what's coming next? Every time you're told no, something inside you is being refined. You're learning, you're stretching. You're being shaped in ways you don't even realize. You're being prepared for something greater, something so specific, so divine, that it cannot be rushed. Not every no is a rejection. Some are redirections. Some are there to protect you from stepping into things that look right but aren't right. Others are there to sharpen your skills, to strengthen your mindset, to test your endurance. Because when the right yes comes, it will require a stronger version of you. The process of hearing no after no is not punishment. It's preparation. It teaches you how to be resilient, how to stand tall when the world doesn't believe in you, how to keep moving forward when it would be easier to stop. It teaches you that your motivation can't come from external approval. It must come from something deeper, something rooted in purpose. When you no longer crumble under rejection, you become unstoppable. You stop seeing each closed door as a setback, and you start seeing it as a stepping stone. There's a reason the big yes doesn't come on the first try. You're not just being prepared for the blessing. You're being prepared to carry it well. You're being built to withstand the weight of the responsibility, the challenges that come with it, the pressure of being chosen. Because not every yes is light and easy. Some yeses come with mountains to move and people to lead. If the yes comes too early, it can crush you. But if it comes after you've been tested, after you've endured the nods, it becomes a reward that your character is ready to hold. The pain of hearing no is real, but it's not the final word. There is a divine yes ahead of you, one that will make sense of every delay, every disappointment, every tear. It's not just a yes for opportunity. It's a yes for alignment. A yes that brings you into the right place, with the right people, at the right time. A yes that doesn't just open doors but breaks chains. A yes that affirms everything you knew deep down. That you were never wasting your time. You were never forgotten. You were always being led. And when that yes finally arrives, it won't feel random. It will feel like destiny. You'll be able to trace the path back and see how every no was necessary. How the heartbreak humbled you. How the waiting grew your faith. How the silence taught you to hear the voice of purpose more clearly. The 100 no's were never there to destroy you. They were there to prepare you. They were removing distractions, testing your perseverance, refining your dream until it became unshakable. You begin to realize that the waiting was not empty. It was filled with unseen battles, quiet victories, and hidden growth. It was in those moments that you were being transformed, not just to receive a yes, but to honor it, to protect it, to multiply it. And when the yes comes, it won't just bless you. It will bless others through you. Because you'll carry it with wisdom, with gratitude, with the understanding that it was never just about reaching the destination. It was about who you became along the way. Tears are seeds of tomorrow's triumph. There's a language deeper than words, and it flows from the eyes when the heart can no longer carry the weight in silence. Tears are not a sign of weakness. They are evidence of the fight within. They are the soul's way of saying, I'm still here, I still care, I still believe even when it hurts. In the world's eyes, tears may look like defeat, but in the eyes of heaven they are sacred. They are seen, counted, treasured, and every drop holds a purpose. In the soil of suffering, something beautiful begins to grow. When you cry in secret, when you pour your heart out in the dark and no one sees, you are planting seeds. Seeds of resilience, seeds of humility, seeds of depth and character. And though nothing may seem to change in the moment, the ground is being prepared. Something unseen is taking root beneath the surface. It's easy to forget that some of the strongest trees grow slowly and silently. People often want triumph without tears, but that's not how transformation works. The pain you endure doesn't go to waste. It's working in you, through you, shaping a strength that applause can't give and success can't replace. Triumph is not just reaching the mountaintop. It's everything that happened in the valley before the climb. It's the nights you kept going with a broken heart, the mornings you rose despite the fear, the moments you kept believing when you had every reason to give up. Tears are honest. They don't pretend. They tell the truth when words fall short, and in that honesty, healing begins. Because it's in our most vulnerable moments that we meet our trust selves, the version that's not performing, not striving to impress, just breathing through the H. That version is the one that's being made ready, not for a small win, but for something eternal, something lasting, something that can only be born through endurance. Every tear you cry in pursuit of your purpose waters the roots of something greater. When you cry for a dream that hasn't come to pass, for a door that hasn't opened, for the strength you don't feel, you are showing the heavens you still care. And that kind of care is powerful. It refuses to quit. It endures the H. It holds on to hope, even when hope feels far away. The world often celebrates the final moment of victory, the headline, the trophy, the grand reveal. But what it doesn't see are the nights filled with tears, the rejections that crushed the heart, the loneliness that came with walking a road few understood. Those are the sacred spaces where the real story is written, where grit is born, where character is formed, where the soul is strengthened. You may not see the fruit yet. You may feel forgotten, but just like a seed buried in the dirt, your tears are feeding something deep. You're not stuck. You're growing. And one day when you least expect it, that growth will break through the surface. Not as a fragile sprout, but as a strong and steady testimony, a living reminder that pain was never pointless, that sorrow carried weight, that those sleepless nights and silent sobs were heard by the one who sees every tear and turns mourning into strength. When people see your triumph, they may not know the cost. But you will know. You'll know what it took to get there. You'll remember the weeping And that memory will make the triumph sweeter, richer, more sacred. Because it wasn't handed to you, it was watered with your own tears. Don't give up, your breakthrough is closer than it seems. There are moments when the weight feels unbearable. When you've tried everything, pried every prayer, knocked on every door, and nothing has changed. You start to wonder if all your effort has been in vain, if the hope you've been holding is just a fantasy. You've been faithful, consistent, determined, and yet, life keeps hitting back. In those moments, quitting doesn't just feel like an option. It feels like relief. But what if the struggle is the very sign that you are near the edge of something new? What if the pressure you're feeling is the final stretch before the shift? So many give up inches before the finish line, moments before the breakthrough, steps before the door finally opens. The resistance is real, but it doesn't always mean you're on the wrong path. Sometimes the resistance increases because you're getting closer to the point of transformation. Breakthrough rarely announces itself ahead of time. It doesn't come with a countdown or a flashing sign. It often shows up after silence, after exhaustion, after everything in you feels like it's breaking. It comes quietly, suddenly, and many times only to those who refuse to quit when it made no sense to keep going. Your persistence is not wasted. Your waiting is not empty. It's building something in you that's preparing you for what's about to change. When you feel like giving up, it's not always because you're weak. It's because you've been strong for a long time. You've carried burdens no one saw. You've fought battles in your mind that would have crushed others. You've kept going on days when most people would have stayed down. That kind of strength deserves to be honored, not dismissed. And just because you're tired doesn't mean it's time to stop. Sometimes, it means you're being tested one last time before the breakthrough arrives. There is something sacred about endurance. It doesn't look glamorous. It doesn't often get applause, but it is the mark of someone who truly believes. Anyone can start a journey when the road is smooth, but to continue through setbacks, detours, and silence, that is where growth happens. That is where transformation is born. And more often than not, the people who experience the greatest breakthroughs are not the ones with the most talent, but the ones with the most tenacity. It's easy to think that a delay is a denial, that just because it hasn't happened yet, it won't happen at all. But delay is often the space where faith is stretched and character is refined. It's in that in-between where you're being made strong enough to handle the blessing that's coming. A breakthrough that arrives too early can destroy you, but one that comes in the fullness of time, that's the kind that changes everything. What you can't see is how close you really are. You don't know what's being arranged behind the scenes. You don't see the hearts being moved, the doors being prepared, the chains being broken in silence. The breakthrough may not be visible yet, but that doesn't mean it's far. Many of the greatest moments in life arrive right after the darkest nights. They come when you think you've lost, when all seems finished, when the flame is down to its last flicker. This is why it matters that you don't stop now. You've come too far. You've sacrificed too much. You've endured more than most would understand. Giving up now wouldn't just mean quitting the fight. It would mean missing the very thing all the pain has been preparing you for. What you're fighting for is not just a moment of success. It's a breakthrough that will validate every tear, every setback, every silent prayer. Here is a powerful, emotionally resonant conclusion to tie together all 8 keynotes into one cohesive message. You've heard the no 100 times. You've been turned away, overlooked, and underestimated, but still you rise. Still you believe, because something deep within you knows your story is not over. The world may not have clapped, the door may not have opened, the results may not have come, but your tears were not in vain. Your faith was not misplaced, and your persistence was not wasted. You are not here by accident. Every rejection, every delay, every painful silence has been preparing you, breaking you open only to build you back stronger. Because rejection is not the end, it's redirection. The applause may be absent, but your faith is alive. You've learned to press through pain, to keep going when it hurts, to listen to the whisper of heaven when the world went quiet. You no longer need their approval. You know your worth. You've been refined in silence, prepared through struggle, and made ready for the one. Yes, that will shift everything. So stand, breathe, believe. Your breakthrough is near. Your purpose is calling. Your time is coming. Don't give up now, because everything you've endured has not been breaking you. It's been building you.